statement to everybody that I know Bonnie Lake staff has been already doing. The health department is now requiring annual testing for the vaccines that we administer and anybody administering them. So you will start to see, probably from your supervisor, you know, scheduled times for you to come to PC, you know, somewhere where you can get to these links to get this training done. It's per the health department. It's part of the agreement that we signed to be able to give these kids free vaccines. So we want to make sure to get that done in the next few months. I think is our time for that. So just an FYI that we're looking, that you'll start to see those invites come out to get that training done. So what I'm going to go over really quickly is order entry during a phone note. So say, I have a couple of examples on my desktop, but say you are on the phone with a patient whose provider has asked that they come back into the office for a repeat TSH. And so you call the patient, and I have, all my examples are Dr. Taggart, just because. So Gina with Dr. Taggart's office would like you to come back into the office for your thyroid. If you can come in, that would be great. Patient says, okie dokie, see you soon, and we sign off on the note. Patient comes to the lab, there's no order in the chart. So what we're trying to do is be more proactive in getting those orders put in before the patient shows up. I know Ron is going to talk about the .lab orders and some changes to that, but I know a lot of us are getting a ton of flags from the lab staff saying, patient's here, no orders in chart, what do you want to do, sign it off, send it back. We're hoping to get some of that improved, and this can be one way, okay? So what I just want to show you for those, just a couple of examples that I could think of on where maybe we don't have a diagnosis in the chart for what the provider's asking us to have the patient come in for, and then where we could look through, you know, we dissect the chart to look in the problem list. Say a patient has a history of anemia, they need to come back in 6 weeks for a repeat CBC. We can go ahead and put that order in because we've got the provider asking us to notify the patient of that. Although we are putting the order in, but we're not ordering it just because we want the patient to come in, right? So we're still staying in our scope. If you guys remember that discussion we had a few months ago when Kathy came. Yeah. So. So poor Mickey Mouse has got a slew of problems here. And one is that he's got a low hematocrit. So Dr. Taggart would like us to call and get him in for a repeat CBC. So I call Mickey, I let him know, he says that's fine, I can come in tomorrow. I say fantastic, we'll see you then. My next step is I'm going to check the orders tab to see maybe Dr. Taggart actually put the order in. That would be great, right? That would be great if we didn't actually have to do this. So I'm going to take a quick peek. And I actually do see, we're going to pretend this isn't here. Ellen Keith Woods is on her game. For tonight, we're going to pretend like that's not bolded and not there. So I'm going to not see an order from Dr. Taggart in the chart, okay? So back to my update I go, and I'm going to put in the order. The next thing I want to do very quickly is just look in the problem list. I just want to see, do they have a history of anemia? Do we have a reason already documented that we can attach to the order so that I'm not making something up, right? I'm an OP, and that's way out of my scope to diagnose somebody as anything. So I'm just going to take a quick peek, and can you guys stop me if you see anything? So far, nothing, right? That's the end of the problem list. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to go ahead and order the CBC.
Oh, but it's right there.
It's right there. It's because I added it.
Oh.
So I'm going to go ahead and order the CBC. And I did add the diagnosis of anemia. I think it didn't show up in the problem list because I didn't sign it first before I came tonight. So this would be in the chart, and knowing that Dr. Taggart is saying this patient's hematocrit is low, they need a repeat CBC, we can go ahead and put the order in, attach the diagnosis, and make sure that it's authorized by that provider. Okay? Any questions on that? So then I would hit OK, I would end my update and be done. So on the, let's see. oh, this one here is for his A1C. So say Taggart's looking through his charts and he notices that this, this diabetic hasn't had an A1C in at least 6 months. We want to get him in. So we call, same thing. I contact the patient. They're going to come in. I'm just going to take a quick peek in the orders. Again, Keith Ellenwood's top of her game. So let's just take a quick look at the problem list. Do we see diabetes? Do we see anything about hyperglycemia, anything like that? Perfect. So again, I can go ahead up. I can look for my hemoglobin A1C. I can go down to the diabetic diagnosis that's already been documented by a provider, carry that diagnosis over, and make sure that I've got the order under the provider's name. So no questions so far. I mean, it's, all we're doing is, everybody knows how to enter orders that's sitting in this room. I understand that. We just want to make sure that when you're on the phone with the patients, instead of just signing off the note, that you're actually putting the orders in if they're not there. Okay? Yeah.
Are we just entering it and just pushing OK, or are we signing the order?
Well, you would sign it. Yeah,
okay.
You would sign it.
I wasn't sure because you just like OK it. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to sign.
Yeah, no, just because I don't want to clutter up
Gotcha.
good old Mickey Mouse
And
here.
if you don't sign it, it'll prompt you to sign it before you sign up the chart anyway.
Well, it just signs automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just signs automatically. So this one here, this is a bit of a different situation. So Dr. Taggart is asking if patient was fasting. So we're going to, for the sake of training today, assume that maybe his glucose was high on a CMP that was drawn during his physical. That happens quite a bit, right? Mm-hmm. So Dr. Taggart says, hey, was this guy fasting? Let's find out. So we call. If he's not fasting, he needs his labs redone. He needs a CMP rechecked. So I call and find out that no, actually Mickey was not fasting. So I put my note in here, and really quickly, of course, I'm going to look in the orders. I don't see a CMP in here, and I look in the problem list here, and I don't see anything about anything having to do with the blood sugar or diabetes or anything like that. So we're concentrating on cholesterol for this one. So I'm going to go back to my update. I don't see anything in the problem list that I can attach as a diagnosis to why this patient would need another CMP. So this is a situation where I can't just say, oh, I think he's got high cholesterol. Perfect, fantastic, CLPN. That's not going to work, right? So what I can do is I can put the order in for the CMP. You can even put it under the provider's name. Hit OK. This is where I would not sign, even if this was real time, I would not sign the order. Then I would, my documentation spoke to patient. He was not fasting at time of drop. CMP entered, or I guess you could say, patient will return to clinic for repeat labs. CMP entered, need diagnosis, please. Please. So now I'm going to send it back to Dr. Taggart, right? So I put the order in, I didn't sign it off, I didn't make up a diagnosis, and I didn't attach anything because I'm not 100% sure what Dr. Taggart is looking for. So I've done everything that I can to make the process go as smoothly as possible so Dr. Taggart can take a peek at this and say, oh, okay, perfect. Let me put in the diagnosis of whatever he is thinking the issue is, and then the patient will get redrawn. When they show up in the lab, the order will be in there. So I'm gonna discard all this because I don't want to clutter Mickey. I use him a lot in training, and this poor guy's gone through quite a bit in his 50 years of life. So any questions on that at all? Any questions on, I know there was, when we had that discussion about the scope of practice, there was a lot of questions on what do we sign off, what do we send, are we still doing the RNS? In that situation, in the summary, you could put RNS so that Dr. Taggart knows, you talk to the patient. I even put the order in, but I did not attach a diagnosis. So he knows he's going to review this note, attach the diagnosis, and sign it off. Okay? Any questions on that? No? Okay. Fantastic.